does seem like the format, at least for this tournament, has really boiled down to Arceus here and Mew here.
Absolutely, we're ready to throw things down to the table. These players getting set up, so hopefully we'll have that action for you as we get into this top 8 match between Isaiah, Bradner, and Joseph. This is going to be a very good match to watch. I'm excited to see how much work Beedrill puts in. Hopefully not like the last Swiss round that we streamed Isaiah with, where both Beedrill were prized. That would be very unfortunate, but we'll have these players getting ready again. We've talked so much about Isaiah's success. Isaiah, top 8, coming off of an international championships. Strong player, aged up recently within the last few years in the senior division, had won an international championship at the North American Internationals. You can see plenty of these accomplishments. 2018 NAIC finalist, 2019 NAIC champion, and a top 8 at UIC, and also has a regional in the, looks like maybe the Masters division, I believe. Atlantic City was after the rotate up, so. Has a top 4 at a regional in Masters, I believe. And as you know, and as we've explained, Beedrill, the main partner in this deck, but it's all possible thanks to Arceus V-Star.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of the table, the perhaps, kind of less well-known player there, but a strong player in his own right. Obviously, here in the top 8 is Joseph Perez, taking a look at his Mew VMAX deck. Some of his achievements, he has a 2018 top 32 at the Roanoke Regional Championship. Those regionals are usually pretty big, so a top 32 is definitely an accomplishment. And now I think the next time he's going to have another achievement to add to this list, top 8, perhaps even top 4 finals, the champion of this tournament. And as you see, Mew VMAX, Genesect V, the kind of deck with the biggest target on its back, perhaps just a few weeks ago, the kind of de facto best deck according to a lot of players. And it looks like these players are set up, ready to go. It'll be just a few more minutes. We're going to see the prize cards laid out here.
Yeah, really looking for key pieces like Fusion Strike Energy, as well as some other pieces. Speaking of which, there's a Fusion Strike Energy, Palpad, and Ordinary Rod, both recovery cards in the prize cards for Isaiah. Usually these matches do go a lot faster when you're playing against Mew. Stuff like Palpad at the bottom is a very good sign, but if Isaiah has to get rid of some pieces like the Beedrills early on, will not have the access to bring them back with Ordinary Rod, as everything is getting finalized out. But I think we are almost ready to get into things. I'm super excited for this top 8 match. Our first top 8 match. Over 1,000 players attended our regional championships here in Indianapolis this weekend. And this is where it kicks off and the action gets even more intense. It's going to be hot in this kitchen.
Absolutely. A huge regional championship, like you said, over 1,000 players. Only 8 remain. 2 great players. It's going to be an amazing matchup. Let's take a little bit of a step back for some of the fans at home who may not be as well versed in the format or may be as well versed in the metagame of this tournament. Explain the Beedrill deck. Explain kind of this choice from Isaiah rather than a more kind of traditional Arceus deck like the ones we've seen. Speaking of the Beedrill, there it is, like the ones we've seen in the rest of this top 8.
Yeah, so Beedrill has a very powerful attack on a stage 2 Pokemon. That persisting attack, knocking out any Pokemon if it is the active that has a special energy card attached to it. Few problems pose it on the surface. It is a stage 2 Pokemon, which can be hard to get out, but that all comes to be possible with a single strike Mustard supporter card that allows you to only play it if it is the last card in your hand. However, if you can get that down, not only do you search your deck for any single strike Pokemon, basic, stage 1, stage 2, and put it onto your bench, but you additionally get to fill your hand back up to 5 cards. So with this deck, Isaiah is really trying to get the Beedrill into play with the Mustard, and by doing that, trying to thin the hand out with cards like Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, and any of these other item cards that don't necessarily require you to grab a card. You can kind of just play them, thin the hand out, or even advance your board state. But being able to get a Sobble out right away is the key. Inteleon allows this to be even more consistent as you can find the exact trainer cards you need with Shady Dealings.
And as we talked about a little bit earlier, this Mew VMAX deck is extremely focused on special energy between Fusion Strike Energy, which is kind of one of the things that makes the deck work, and the Double Turbo Energy. There's actually only one basic energy, one kind of energy that Beedrill is not just going to eat in Joseph's deck. So we see this first turn from Isaiah Bradner is the Quick Ball for the Inteleon, plays an Arceus V and just attaches a Grass to it. It looks like there was a Beedrill discarded as well. That was a pretty quick turn, but the Mew VMAX decks are typically going to have a little bit longer first turns.
And that's a big coin flip actually off that Cramomatic. Looks like it had no outs to find any basic Pokemon in this opening hand. So this will be able to grab the Battle VIP pass out of the deck for Joseph. A big time grab. Does have to discard that Choice Belt, but there are plenty of cards to draw cards back in the hand. I see a Rotom Phone. There's a Rose Tower to fill the hand back up, but smartly checking through the prizes is going to see that one of those Fusion Strike energy will not be available. It's going to be a little bit harder to get off maybe a more aggressive turn one unless a Sparkle play. You're usually looking to find the Fusion Strike energy in your hand before playing a less Sparkle. Otherwise, you limit the outs from having 1 energy to draw into to 3 energy. So you're going to see that a lot if we are able to continuously feature Mew VMAX on stream, but pretty standard grab. Really believes Meloetta putting on aggression early is a key importance in this matchup. Even has the double turbo energy if Joseph decides to commit that. But just again, going through the deck, opting to actually discard that Rose Tower to really just value the other pieces in the hand.
Yeah, so just as you predicted, that Karmamatic did hit the Battle VIP Pass, which is one of the most important cards in this deck. You want to operate with a full bench. You want to turn on Fusion Strike system kind of at the maximum as often as possible, and that's exactly what we're seeing here is just cards we use to try to fill this bench. And there is the Elisa's Sparkle as well.
Yeah, so I think in this case, because Joseph is looking to get the knockout on just a Pokemon, if Escape Rope is played, I'm sure the Sobble will come up. Would obviously be a nice grab for sure as a pivoting option in this case, but at the worst, you can go ahead and attach this energy, the double turbo energy, to the Meloetta. And while it is only hitting for 140 damage minus the 20 from the double turbo, it is still enough to put on solid aggression turn 1. And even if Isaiah sends the Arceus up, I'm pretty sure Joseph is more than happy to get some damage into this Arceus V, soften it up, and make it a lot easier. But this will be a big Fusion Strike system. Going to go ahead and fill the hand up.
Cards.
And yeah, 2 cards, not really wanting to discard. The Training Court is okay. Isaiah most likely going to put that into play fairly early. But in this list, is playing a 3-3 Mew VMAX line. I've seen some lists get a little bit more aggressive and play 3-2. So I'm sure Joseph's going to be fairly happy to make that decision. I'm sure throughout this weekend has been happy playing that thicker Mew VMAX line.
Yeah, so you're kind of seeing the Mew VMAX deck. Kind of this is what it's meant to do here. So that first Fusion Strike system was only for 2 cards. Joseph choosing to play the Elixir Sparkle rather than discard it off of the Ultra Ball, kind of saying I need to value this a little bit differently. But now those cards were drawn. We see the Ultra Ball. Now the Genesect is there, and now we're going to see a full 5 cards after the attachment.
Yeah, so we'll see what gets grabbed. Basic Psychic, Pokemon, ooh, I mean, has Ultra Ball, but these are some pieces you really don't want to discard. May have to consider getting rid of another Mew V, where they only have 1 left in the deck. Is already down the Mew VMAX, so you're kind of limiting your bench options, but I feel like on this first turn, getting this knockout and taking this prize is such a big advantage. Otherwise, it opens the door up for Isaiah to start hitting with Trinity Nova. You then get easy pieces to set up Beedrill and kind of the floodgates open, and actually opting to discard the boss's orders, which could be a key card to be able to apply pressure to these Beedrills. Otherwise, they can kind of just sit on the bench, wait for the perfect opportunity, and then come in and trade very favorably into 3-price Pokemon.
Yeah, and you just see the importance of this Fusion Strike system ability to Joseph, where he's just saying, okay, again, boss's order is gone, Mew is gone. I'm just going to get another Genesect. I just want to maximize my chances. I'm going to draw 4 new cards here, all the way up to 6. This is the max. Here we go. Does he have a pivoting option?
Gonna fill the hand up to 6 cards. Rotom Phone, and there's the switch. Wow, big time grab. Drew into a few boss's orders as well for the following turns. Even has the Rotom Phone, can play that to end the turn off to really guarantee a good top deck option. It also protects against Marty as well, so would like to see that get played, and very smart from Joseph. Understands, I'm not gonna have access to this card this turn, but at worst, I can have some great access to future cards. Ultra Ball, a very nice grab there to thin the hand out. Even Quick Ball, there are multiple boss's orders in that hand, and yeah, it looks like it will actually be the Quick Ball getting grabbed, going to the top of the deck, every other card getting shuffled in, and that will be placed onto the top. And Meloetta, even after reduced damage, 120, more than enough to knock out this Manaphy and take a prize card on the first turn of the game. This is how powerful Meloetta with Melodious Echo is in this Mew VMAX deck.
Yeah, absolutely. A single prizer as well. And going back to that Rotom Phone, too, you made a great point that, you know, this Rotom Phone, all of the Fusion Strike systems have been used. So this Rotom Phone is just kind of setting up, protecting against Marnie, fixing the draw for next turn. But oftentimes, you'll just see the Mew players really go in and just, I'll Rotom Phone, put the exact card I want on top, and then draw it and more cards off the Fusion Strike system, as it looks like the Power Tablet was taken off the prizes there for Joseph. And we're back on Isaiah. Evolution Incense is the first play here. Looks like he's eyeing up that Arceus V-Star. Really powerful card, kind of the what's shaped the format around itself. You know, has spread a ton of different archetypes just with the power of the Arceus V and V-Star.
So it has multiple options. I'm sure we will see this Arceus V-Star get grabbed. That V-Star Starbirth power allowing you to search for any 2 cards in your deck, put them in your hand. Such a powerful ability, even on a once per game effect. at any point during the game. So Isaiah is not forced to use the ability now, can save, can wait, can really approach. And it looks like this hand is actually completely thinnable. Looks like has the raw mustard actually in hand.
Oh,
and we're going to
wow.
see no Starbirth, no Drizzile, getting the B-Drill out into play right away. Exactly what you want to see if you're Isaiah. Has the guaranteed knockout on the Meloetta, can grab the Double Turbo either off of this Mustard, if Isaiah is able to draw into it, or off the V-Star power. Exactly what you want to see to put aggression on to Meloetta early. And this is classic stuff here. Mustard, turn 2, B-Drill into play, fill the hand up, set up the board. This is how this deck rocks.
Yeah, I mean, normally a lot of the early game mustards we've seen have been based off of like doing a Starbirth and then kind of having to maybe you get a Drizzile for another card and you can discard down your hand in the right size and kind of using these resources and using kind of every ability and card at that you have access to kind of get it. But no, like you said, Isaiah just had it there. He then gets to draw 5 cards. He still has Starbirth up as well, so a ton of options. Just like an amazing second turn here for Isaiah Bradner.
Absolutely. Looks like eyeing up the options. Just through the discard pile, wants to see the resources that were expanded. I don't think too many power tablets are gone, which could be a big deal. Isaiah is running that 1 copy of the Big Charm, so we'll be able to potentially throw this onto the Arceus, and that's a very good sign, especially when you see your opponent get rid of a card like Choice Belt. That is an easy damage modifier to keep, as it looks like, looking at the future hand too, has an Evolution Incense, so we could also see a Shady Dealings this turn. 1 Sobble in play, you can do better than that. You can get some more in play for sure, so there's a lot of options for Isaiah.
Yeah, it looks like the Starbirth is going to find Double Turbo and Sobble. And then, like you said, the Evolution Incense can find that Drizzile. So just Isaiah's just getting to search his deck for basically whatever he wants this turn. 2 cards already in the hand. Now this Evolution Incense, you got to believe that's going to find the Drizzile, which will give him another trainer into his hand directly. Looks like Ultra Ball might be the choice here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stadium count as well, because stadium war can be a big deal, especially if Training Court sticks. Joseph is running a copy of Training Court for himself, which is a stadium that both these players share. And 1 Rose Tower already gone. Isaiah is going to, I feel, gain a lot more from using that Training Court every single turn. But knockout onto the Meloetta, big time damage, and more importantly, getting these energies into play super quickly.
Yeah, Trinity Nova going to go ahead and attach those 3 grass energies onto the bench Arceus V. Take a prize, evening up the prize trade 1-to-1. A little bit more important is knocking out the Meloetta and the Fusion Strike energy from the board of Joseph rather than just the mana fee that got knocked out on Isaiah's turn. It looks like he's actually deciding to spread the energy around a bit, putting an extra 1 on the Arceus V-Star in the active spot and just putting the 2 on the bench Arceus V. We pass the turn back to Joseph now. It looks like Quick Ball was the top deck. And so in this position, in this spot, what is Joseph kind of looking for? What's his ideal turn here?
Well, to start, he's got to knock out this Arceus V-Star. Needs to take care of it. Psychic Energy is a good start. It means he'll be able to deal full damage, no reduced damage from Double Turbo. But on top of that, you need to set up another Mew for the following turn, or some sort of Meloetta, or go after this B-Drill with Boss's Orders, open up the floodgates, start to take some prizes. Now you map yourself out pretty simply to take 2 more prizes on to these 2 V Pokemon. Quick Ball going to go ahead and get rid of that Rotom, or that Battle VIP pass. This is actually a big deal for Isaiah because that Ordinary Rod is prized. B-Drill is out of question for pretty much the entirety of the game because Ordinary Rod is in those top 2 prize cards. So now he's got to find a way to navigate through this matchup without the use of B-Drill, which is very, very good in this matchup.
And we saw Joseph discard a boss in his first turn, so it looks like he did have that second one to make this exact play, exactly as you mentioned before. Sometimes the B-Drills can just sit on the bench kind of threatening, but you kind of can't let that happen. The boss's order brings it right to the active spot. Another kind of smaller thing maybe for the future is that you can see in Joseph's hand he's also drawing a lot of those damage modifiers that can be really important, not for knocking out the B-Drill, but really important in the later turns to knock out these Arceus V-Stars.
Yeah, and we see just 2 of the Fusion Strike system works. Had an Ultra Ball in hand, but decides to hold it. A lot of key pieces for the following turns. Joseph's going to go down to 4 prize cards. As this Arceus comes to the active, Isaiah's got to put something through. You're not in a horrible position. You're going to deal some solid damage to this Mew VMAX. And from there, your prizes are pretty simply routed to take a knockout onto the Mew VMAX and then one of these 2 prize Pokemon. If the Mew does not evolve, or VMAX evolve, you have that as an option. You have Genesect as an option with Choice Belt, with your benched Arceus. But getting another Arceus V-Star into play is going to be another big deal because it's going to be super easy for Joseph to take another knockout onto an Arceus that has just 220 health.
And we do see that Inteleon come down with Shady Dealings. We mentioned earlier how kind of the two pillars of the format were the decks you're seeing here, Arceus V-Star and Mew VMAX, but none of this could happen without the secret agent Pokemon Inteleon, kind of the backbone of these Arceus V-Star decks. We're going to see, if you've been following the stream, you've seen a lot of Shady Dealings this weekend. We're going to see a lot more, and this one is going to find, looks like Big Charm and Marnie there.
Yeah, the problem with making a more passive play on Joseph's side is while you aren't drawing a lot of cards, you're making it very clear to your opponent by not digging through your deck that I've got something in hand that I really want to keep for the following turn. And Isaiah is a very smart player and can tell and can make that read and saying, there's a fair shot you've got 2 to 3 damage modifiers in this hand. I'm going to make it as difficult as possible for you to find those again, especially if you want to play a little bit more passive and not burn some more cards and draw through cards. So those cards, like Ultra Ball, could have maybe been played. You kind of understand what you can sacrifice, what you're not going to sacrifice. This is going to be a big couple of turns between both these players. Isaiah, more importantly, gets down the Big Charm, has the Marnie. The Galarian Zigzagoon will apply 10 damage to that Genesect. Doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. There are no currently known evolutions for Genesect as a mythical Pokemon, so we will just see the Marnie get played. Hand going to the bottom of the deck for both of these players. Isaiah will get 5 cards, Joseph 4, and this is the big question, is how is Joseph able to respond this following turn? Line is pretty simple for Isaiah. You're going to hit with Trinity Nova, you're going to hit with Trinity Nova, and you're going to hit with Trinity Nova.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point you made earlier, I think is a really good thing to touch on, especially if you're new to Pokemon TCG or new to going to high-level tournaments like this, is that when Joseph doesn't use the other Fusion Strike system, from Isaiah, whenever your opponent doesn't do something that kind of seems obvious, you have to ask yourself why. And then you can come to the right conclusion, you can come to the wrong conclusion, you can have multiple ideas about why that is. But if you're a top player like Isaiah, you're asking yourself why, and you're trying to suss that out. You're trying to say, oh, well, I guess maybe he has power tablets in hand. I guess I'll attach this Big Charm, and that is the sort of thing that just kind of seems small, but is so important to high-level Pokemon TCG play at this level, at tournaments like these.
Absolutely. We do see the Trinity Nova dealing 180 damage reduced from that double turbo. Don't know if we'll see any energies get accelerated out. I think the reason of kind of why not at this point is maybe considered, but you also have to think about training court and the ability if something gets stuck in the active to buy some more turns. So there's multiple options on that side of things. So just going to go ahead and deal the damage. Still a very solid attack. Multiple energies on this Arceus as well as a pivoting option. The double turbo as well was more useful when Beedrill was around, as it gave it pretty much a consistent way to pivot, but it's just kind of going to be an extra energy on the Arceus, but no biggie, still has plenty to attack. Action on Joseph, already has 1 power tablet in hand, and there are, as we know, at minimum 2 left in the deck. Looking over at what options there are, so we've got to figure out what the options for Joseph are. Has obviously been playing this very well. 2 losses in the entirety of day 1 and 2, so as I'm sure played through a fair bit of Arceus, and with how much Arceus Beedrill there was in day 2, I'm sure has maybe faced this match once or twice throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely. And just checking in on the rest of our top 8 matches, we will be giving you updates as the top 8 plays out. It looks like we do have our first kind of half result here. Andrew Estrada is up a quick game over Pablo Meza, so we will keep you informed as to how the rest of the matches shake out. And, of course, after the top 8, we'll be featuring the top 4. And then, of course, the finals. Also, another thing important to note is if you look at the top middle of your screen there, you see that there's 59 minutes remaining in this match. The players have a much longer time limit, 75 minutes for these best-of-3 single elimination matches. So, obviously there can't be ties in single elimination, and we're doing everything we can here to make sure the players have enough time, just a little bit more time to finish their sets here. So hopefully that will be the case. We've seen Elisa Sparkle come down for Joseph here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to just go ahead. Yeah, make sure that's a little bit of an oversight on Joseph's end. Should have elected the target before searching with Elisa Sparkle, but I think it's pretty obvious what the energy is going on. And I think Isaiah understands that too. Of just kind of saying, hey, next time, do that. We don't want to surprise one of those card piles. Just going to grab the last energy, essentially used to put out a card from the deck into play that is not a power tablet. All that Joseph wants to see this turn is a power tablet. We know Choice Belt is in the discard pile, and there is only 1 copy of, or excuse me, there are 2 copies of Choice Belt as well. So there is the potential to draw into 1 more. However, the second one is prized. And let's take a look at what these options are. It looks like finds 1 more power tablet. Interestingly enough, opting to not play the power tablet before drawing. I feel like you have to go aggressive, because if you're not able to knock this Arceus out this turn, this is going to spell a lot of trouble for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. So how many damage modifiers does he need here to take out this Arceus with the Big Charm?
So there's 210 damage on the base. You're going to need to have 4 damage modifiers. 3 would bring you up to 300, which is just short. So you need to have 4 damage modifiers. So we'll need to find all 4 power tablet. But otherwise, it feels like the game plan is very simple for Isaiah. Joseph is not playing any way to disrupt the hand whatsoever. No one copy of Marnie or anything else to mess up Isaiah's hand. So Joseph understands that over and over again, there's going to be the options to put on some pressure. But we're actually going to see the Psychic Leap. And I like this play a lot, but now this gets very scary because all Isaiah needs to do is boss's orders up this Mew, remove the Fusion Strike energy out of play, and now there's no attackers here for Joseph because that Fusion Strike energy is prized.
Right, so Joseph, I think they're kind of saying using Psychic Leap, using actually a really powerful attack, kind of underused attack, I think, a lot when you think about how powerful Mew V is. But I think he's kind of saying, okay, I don't want this Mew VMAX to be knocked out. I need to protect it. But as you said, it's just opening himself up for a world of trouble if this boss's order gets found. And look at that. We have the shady dealings on Teleon. I'm not sure. Yep, you can see Isaiah immediately pulls the boss's orders to the front. He knows exactly what you just said. He knows exactly what is going on, which is he needs to eliminate the board of attackers, take 2 prizes, and really put Joseph in a really bad spot. Maybe a little bit of a misstep there by Joseph.
Yeah, the idea is very solid. You get the damage off the board. You make it so that this Arceus has to go through another Mew. But I feel like if you're going for this play, you would need to get 2 Mew down into play to be able to get an attacker for the following turn. Otherwise, it's like you're giving up 3 prizes in the span of 2 turns instead of 1. So, and at that point, you gave Isaiah even more time to set the board, maybe get a quick shooting Inteleon up online. This is where things get very, very scary. But there we go. Boss's orders bringing up this Mew V. Has another Sobble as well off of this quick ball. Going to just be able to keep using Shady Dealing, set up the board. Things are looking excellent here for Isaiah in game number 1.
All right, so now that we've seen it, we've seen Isaiah find the boss's orders. We're going to see the knockout here very shortly. We know that Joseph's board has no attackers remaining, but what does he need to do this turn to kind of get back into it? What do you think is the ideal kind of setup for him to end this turn with? Well,
there's going to be no immediate pressure, but you need to get 2 more Mew into play. The problem is, with this Mew being knocked out and 1 being discarded early, there's going to be 1 Mew left in play. If Isaiah can play 1 more boss's orders because the last Fusion Strike energy is out of play, there are no Pokemon left in this deck that can attack. The 3 Fusion Strike energy will be gone. The Oricorio, the Genesect, every other Pokemon needs to have multiple types of energy attached. And from there, the Meloetta even, while you can technically attach a double turbo and a basic psychic to it, it does 70 for every Fusion Strike energy in deck, so you'd be dealing 0 damage. But we are going to see the retreat into the fresh Arceus. I like this play. Isaiah does not have knowledge that there is no access to another Fusion Strike energy. That one is prized for Joseph. I think it's a pretty big tell, though, when you see your opponent only grab 1 Fusion Strike energy off of Lisa.
Right. Yep. And there we see it, the knockout from Isaiah Bradner. On that Mew, Joseph immediately promotes that Oricorio to the active spot, and now Joseph is kind of in rebuilding mode. It's a really tough spot, like you said, with the even with the kind of advanced Mew counts. And it looks like Joseph has decided that's enough. Isaiah Bradner takes game 1. You hear Joseph say, I'll go first in game 2. A very, very quick and very dominant game 1 by Isaiah Bradner.
You've got to imagine after that first game, Joseph may be thinking, wow, do I really take this route going forward in the next matches? Just because of that one single play and the boss's orders, it pretty much sealed up. Obviously, in combination with some pretty unfortunate prize cards there, prized the damage modifier, prized the Fusion Strike energy, was unable to grab either of them off of the prize cards with about a pretty substantial chance, close to around 50%, a little higher give or take, depending on what card you're looking for, but either or, unfortunate prizing for Joseph in this game 1. We'll be able to start things off, though, going first, and I think that's a big key. We saw Joseph lost the coin flip, was able to go second, was still able to get off what you're looking for in a turn 1 knockout, but it's going to be a lot easier when you get the access to your Fusion Strike systems, your battle passes, all of that in the first turn, and an additional attachment allows you to threaten a lot more, especially when you can evolve into Mew VMAX as your attacker when you first take a knockout.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked a little bit this weekend about how kind of the decision to go first or second is actually is a real decision in this format, just based on the deck you're playing. A lot of the Inteleon, or a lot of the decks playing Sobble want to keep calling. Maybe they'll choose to go second sometimes with Mew VMAX, with the exception of maybe some rare spots. Always basically just wants to go first. It's such a huge advantage, and that's exactly what we'll see. We'll see Joseph going first here, but your prediction of Isaiah Bradner taking down this tournament is inching closer as he has won this first game, but mine is actually a little less likely now. Francis McDonald has won game 1 over Ian Robb, so looks like 3 out of the 4 of these top 8 matches have completed their game 1s in pretty quick fashion. So we'll see what the future brings for all of these matches. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the other matches that are being streamed, and of course, as these players get set up, here we'll show you the next game or two, the rest of this match. So we know that Joseph's going first here. We know that that's a big advantage. Kind of what does he need to go differently for him? Besides his prizes, he's got to hope for all the fusion strike energy, all the possible attackers in there. But what does he need to be? What does he need to happen differently in order to win this game rather than game one?
Well, that game was pretty unfortunate because the loss of the coin flip means your entire game plan changes going second. But assuming the coin flip, assuming going first for Joseph is the option that was chosen, as we're actually going to see prize cards go out. Ordinary rock prize again for Isaiah could definitely be a big deal. Nothing too important here for Joseph. Does prize the basic psychic energy, but besides that, nothing too tame. UV max in there too. But needs to really try to find a way to knock out an Arceus V on the second turn of the game, preferably wherever the energy goes, as we're going to kick things off. Manaphy's giving a little spin, saying hi. Not in here whatsoever against these Rapid Strike matchups, but we've seen low presence of Rapid Strike. Things are starting off. It looks like we will see the Battle Pass already in hand for Joseph. Going to be able to search out 2 basic Pokemon. We're going to see a lot of Genesects come into play, a lot of Fusion Strike system. It's what makes this deck turn. It's what makes this deck run. It's what makes this deck Mew.
Exactly, as we talked about. In Game 1, Battle VIP Pass is just so important. Not a card that a lot of decks play. It's very, very narrow, but just very powerful for this specific strategy that involves kind of filling your bench as much as possible, and then, of course, having plenty of discard fodder. So it looks like we're going to settle in for quite a long turn now as Joseph is considering what to discard off a Quick Ball. He also has a Cramomatic. Looks like that's actually going to be the choice here. Cramomatic, discarding Escape Rope, big coin flip off the stream.
We're just looking.
Yep, looks like it was Tails there.
And Quick Ball as well, right? We'll be able to get out a basic Pokemon. It's pretty unfortunate because both of the item cards in hand here for Joseph were cards that you want. Your Genesects in the active, you're eventually going to want to get that out of the active position. We saw how important Power Tablet was in that situation in game number 1. You want to keep your damage modifiers. It's kind of which one do you try to sacrifice, especially if you flip heads, Battle VIP Pass is going to be so much more rewarding than losing that one resource.
Absolutely. So Quick Ball, Boss's Orders. We see Meloetta might be added to the hand here, and then shortly to the bench. Gonna consult the hand, and then I think we're gonna see some Fusion Strike systems for. Looks like 4 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. 2 cards in hand. We're just gonna draw 2 cards, unless there's another card that Joseph can burn here. I know one of them was the Power Tablet.
So it has a lot of options to work with. We will at least see this one fill the hand up to 4. I believe Boss's Orders and Power Tablet. Burning the Power Tablet is kind of a move you see Mew players sometimes take, and more notably sometimes if they're sort of learning how the deck works and kind of have the mindset of, oh, I want to draw as many cards in my first turn, I want to be as aggressive as possible. There's actually a big Rotom phone find. We'll only be able to draw 1 card, but whatever this first card is will be a big deal. Looking for Battle VIP Pass, does find Ultra Ball. That could be a solid card, but again, these resources in hand are pretty impactful. Looks like Power Tablet, another Ultra Ball, and one other card, maybe a Rose Tower, so has a lot of options, but it never feels great to discard some key pieces that you need with Ultra Ball.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see what he'll choose to put on top of his deck here with the Rotom Phone. Not sure if we're going to quite be able to work it out there, but Rotom Phone is an incredibly powerful card. Just kind of really sets up this, in combination with this Genesect, just sets up great draws. You know, again, similar to Battle VIP Pass, not a card that a lot of decks end up playing. You know, a lot of decks don't have access to something that just draws them cards on the board. You'll sometimes see this, as we saw in Game 1, you'll see the Mew decks play Rotom Phone at the end of their turn and just kind of have a good top deck for the next turn. But it looks like we're going to see immediately the Fusion Strike just for 1, finds the extra copy of Mew.
So looks like
and passes the turn back.
Yes, looks like decided to put the Mew on top of the deck instead of the Ultra Ball. Has that for the following turn. Still not a poor turn whatsoever. You got 1 Battle VIP Pass, you got your Pokemon down. This is actually going to be a very solid hand as well for Joseph the following turn. We'll have to see what is happening in this hand. I don't think there's much happening. 3 cards in hand. Looks like eyeing up. No, just going to pass the turnover. And Joseph, already has the Boss's Orders in hand. Top decks the Mew VMAX. Has the Power Tablet. So now all you need to do is find something like a double Turbo Energy or another combination of Energy Acceleration. We'll have to play that. But there we go. Boss's Orders bring up the Arceus. And this is going to be a big Fusion Strike system. I think just debating, do I play the Power Tablet? I feel like there's no reason not to. You need this in order to knock out the Arceus.
Yeah, you just have to. If this is your game plan, I think you feel like you have to just play it here. There's the Power Tablet. It's going to be there's a Fusion Strike system that's going to be 4 cards here. Fusion Strike Energy, no way to move it, and 2 Fusion Strike Energy in hand, and a lot of unplayable cards.
That's so unfortunate. It has the Ultra Ball, but what do you really want to discard here? It looks like I end up getting rid of one of these Fusion Strike Energies when you're this aggressive in the game. Actually, no, opting to discard
Keeping them both.
Wow, keeping both cards in hand, not going to try and bench another Mew. Instead, most likely going to look for a Genesect off of this Ultra Ball, wanting to find as many cards as possible this turn. Still has 2 more Fusion Strike systems. A card like Rose Tower is still an option to draw cards. Looking for that double turbo energy. And in this deck, there's only 2 double turbo, so this is going to be where things get a little sketchy. We may have to rely on some high roll Cramomatic flips, something like that is going to be impactful, but you're only drawing 4 cards off a Fusion Strike system. You really want to be trying to draw 5 or 6 if you're digging for cards specifically, and when those cards are unthinnable itself, you're now relying on drawing into more cards like Ultra Ball and Quick Ball to thin this hand out even more.
And we do see the second Fusion Strike system here, 4 cards.
Finds the double turbo energy.
And it's escape rope. It's not switch, so kind of an awkward option there.
Oh, it does need the pivoting option as well, yeah. So this is where it gets really tough. Do you just kind of settle for taking a knockout at this point, or do you try to dig for this? I feel like it's such an aggressive board spot if you do find the knockout that maybe it is worth just trying to go aggressive. I feel like if you take a knockout on this Arceus, Isaiah has really no way to come back in this matchup unless there's some combination of cards to find the single strike mustard and then combination the grass energy. But at that point, if your opponent has it, they have it.
It looks like Joseph does decide to go with the Ultra Ball play there. Escape rope. Ultra Ball is going to discard the escape rope and the Fusion Strike Energy. And it looks like we have our first result of the top 8 here as Andrew Estrada, 2014, world champion. Andrew Estrada has defeated Pablo Meza 2-0 in 2 very quick games. So Andrew will be our first semi-finalist player here.
Absolutely. So we'll be seeing Mew VMAX move on to top 4, potentially seeing another one move on as well. We could be seeing a lot of Mew moving on, but Joseph has got to find this switching card here. I believe there were, oh yeah, actually did also have one in the prize cards as well. So this is kind of where things get a lot riskier. You've only got access to 1 switch in deck, Cramomatic prized as well. You've got a lot of your resources unavailable. You've got to kind of naturally draw into it, or more likely, you're going to have to flip a coin flip and try to flip heads, and that just feels so risky, especially when, I mean, you're going to be drawing 6 cards off of this Fusion Strike system, empty the entire hand out to try to just fill this back up, but this is going to be a big time draw. Do we see the switch? Oh, 3, 4, 5.
Last card? No.
No, and all those cards are unplayable as well to thin down. Does have the trading court, actually, not even the Rose Tower. And because of this big aggressive play, you see Isaiah so stressed about this. If this Arceus gets knocked out, you kind of wonder, do you even just go to the next game? But a big time break, and this actually opens up a lot of doors for Isaiah, especially because the Genesect, the 2 prize Pokemon, is still in the active position.
Absolutely, and something you'll see a lot in this Arceus deck is, so Isaiah had a pretty rough turn, right? Didn't play a supporter, just kind of attached and pass. But the thing is that Arceus V-Star opens up so many possibilities that knocking out this Arceus would have been great. It just gives Isaiah 1 fewer out, and there it is, the evolution in sense. Again, typically evolution in sense, okay, I can get my evolution for my attacker, maybe I can get a Drizzle, but no, this time it just means I'm going to get Arceus V-Star. I can Starbirth now, and there's just a huge difference between having that Arceus in play and not. And you see, Joseph even committed the power tablet. That was his plan the entire time, and it did not work out. And now Isaiah Bradner just has the opportunity to fire on more or less all cylinders here.
Yeah, you're going to have less options overall than that previous turn. You have no access to something like Shady Dealings. I'm looking through the hand. It looks like there is a single strike mustard in hand again. This time, eyeing up the options. Could see something like the Ultra Ball thin the hand out. I believe I saw a Scoop Up Net in there too. You really want to be utilizing those later on when you have those Inteleon lines built up, but it is a piece that you can hear somewhat say, okay, if I need to get rid of this piece in order to get the single strike mustard style, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. It's all part of the bigger picture, right? The big scheme that Isaiah's got to get the B-drills out and start stinging away.
Absolutely, and there is the Arceus V-Star we were talking about. Immediately that V-Star marker gets flipped over. Isaiah is debating on what he wants to get off the Starbirth now.
Oh, and this is big. Has a second double turbo energy, and that can be still okay to commit to this Arceus because Choice Belt still gets you there math-wise on this Genesect. It will be 200 minus the 40 from 2 double turbo, and the Choice Belt still makes the math possible. So Isaiah doesn't even need to grab an energy card off of the Starbirth. It can just kind of say, okay, I'm going to commit these 2 energies here. I do play Sharon's Care as well to potentially put them back in hand later on. It can work out. It can be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a wealth of options here. And Isaiah just has such a good player. He's going to figure out exactly what the right line is here. Didn't quite see the cards that he took. Not sure if those are final yet or just kind of deciding. Yeah, it looks like he's going back in. Looks like Ultra Ball and Quick Ball were the picks there. And then Ultra Ball is played discarding the Double Turbo and the Inteleon.
So I'm getting rid of a double turbo energy. I don't know if there was a second one in hand, maybe not going for that route. I think we're just looking to see what the line is. Looks like going to grab the Arceus V off of the Ultra Ball. Has that option, and it looks like the Quick Ball as well getting played. We'll be able to most likely find a Sobble to put that, as it looks like we will potentially be seeing the Mustard. I have to imagine with these two cards grabbed in order to basically grab to thin the hand out. You would, if it wasn't to thin the hand out, you would just see the straight up Pokemon grab that we're seeing off the search options. You have to assume Mustard's coming out.
Yeah, you kind of it's funny watching the Beedrill deck throughout the weekend. You can kind of tell both from our perspective and I think the opponent's perspective when that's the plan, because you see a lot more of looking at the deck, looking at the hand, looking at the deck, looking at the hand, whereas a lot of the Starbursts and other Arceus variants just turn out to be, I'll get Double Turbo and Big Charm or whatever it may be. We do see that single strike Mustard there. No cards in hand besides that one. Find my Beedrill, find my Stage 2 single strike Pokemon, put it right onto the bench and draw 5 cards, and just a great position to be in if you're Isaiah Bradner.
Absolutely incredible. Single strike Mustard coming out into play. Beedrill will go down into the field. 5 cards for Isaiah. Has to find an energy card in order to attack and get this off, so this is actually a big time grab. Do we see the energy card? Ooh, I don't think there was any energy there.
But if he whiffed the energy, that would be a very big deal. We see that Sobble filling the bench from Isaiah's perspective. But wow, yeah, after the Starbirth and the Mustard, just no energy, forced to pass it back.
Wow, and I mean, it's better than trying to find a piece and not being able to get a combo off at the same time, and that opens the doors up for something like a Boss's Orders, because we see a Chromatic, and this is actually going to be a big-time flip. If this flip heads, it can finally find a pivoting option. Big-time flip.
Tails.
Oh, Tails. Wow. Had the Boss's Orders already in hand, so that was just the potential to knock out the Beedrill yet again.
Yeah, Chromatic, I mean, I think we've definitely seen more Tails on Chromatic than we've seen heads over the course of this tournament, which is maybe a little bit of justice there. Of course, a very high-risk, high-reward card is Chromatic. Perfectly paired with those Battle VIP passes, just saying, okay, I can't use this item card after the first turn, so it's easy fodder there, but just does, when it hits Tails, what can you do? It just does nothing.
Yeah, and it's even like a lower risk card. Sometimes it's just high reward, low risk, because all it does in this deck is it thins your hand out of some of the cards that are unplayable as well. It has that option going for it, but obviously there's some cards in the format like that and Crushing Hammer and Pokemon Catcher that have amazing effects if you flip heads, but if you flip tails, nothing happens, and it's kind of a wasted slot sometimes it feels when things don't happen. But we are going to, looks like, see the Alessa Sparkle get put into play. This will get out a few Fusion Strike energy, but we saw 2 of them discarded earlier on when Joseph was digging through the deck to try to find that switch.
Absolutely. We do have another result here. Andrew Weiss, who we saw win his winning in on stream, will advance to the semifinals, taking down Michael Long. So we now have 2 semifinalists, both Andrews, Andrew Estrada and Andrew Weiss. Might be the Andrew tournament here. We are still obviously finishing up this match and the other before we can decide a top 4. And, if Joseph Perez has anything to say about it, we will be here a while as we have that second Fusion Strike energy committed to the Meloetta. There's the Training Core. It looks like we're using the first Fusion Strike system for 4 cards here.
Yeah, and does find a Choice Belt for later on. The problem is, I know at minimum we've seen 1 Escape Rope at the discard pile. We know 1 Switch is prized, so that leaves 2 switching options. But look at this, a big find off the Rotom phone. Finally finds the switch. Excuse me, so we will be seeing this Mew or Meloetta attack this turn. I feel like you have to go with the Meloetta, but this is just pretty much a turn delayed now for Isaiah, where he's expected to get hit into or a prize taken at this point. He then knocks out the Meloetta. The Mew comes up, it knocks out the Arceus, and then the Beedrill comes and it does work. It's going to be really important the following turn to see if Joseph can find a way to respond to this Beedrill, or if Isaiah has a way to knock out this Mew, because the scary thing is Joseph decided to commit energy to this Mew without attacking with it, and because of that, Beedrill can now come up and take a knockout onto the Mew because energy's already on that Pokemon.
Right, you might be saying to yourself, oh, well, of course you want to attach energy. It's good to have those energy drops. You only get 1 per turn. It's, nice to have backup attackers, but Beedrill just punishes that so hard, makes you play the game completely differently, and even down to things like, Elisa Sparkle is usually this thing where you can spread your energy out, have the Fusion Strike energy in play, but it's not always the best play versus something like that Beedrill, and that's exactly why Isaiah and the rest of his group have included it in their deck.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because the energy is justified as well, was trying to go for the knockout onto the Arceus. So it kind of is just so unfortunate. It looks like actually going into the Mew, smart choice. Mew is a free retreater, can be put into any attackers, so that will to be decided later. Joseph understanding, well, my Lesson Sparkle, I'm not going to be doing anything for the rest of the game. In fact, I will be unable to play it because I have all of my Fusion Strike energy either in play or in the discard pile, so it's as good as a Battle VIP pass in my hand, an unplayable card.
So it looks like my prediction is staying alive. Ian Robb has tied things up with Francis McDonald. They are moving into a Game 3, our final non-streamed top 8 match. We will keep you updated on the results of those. Back to this match, it looks like we have done the last Fusion Strike system here. 6 cards in hand for Joseph, that Mew VMAX in the active spot.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I feel like you have to attack him with Meloetta, otherwise it's just open season for Beedrill to do exactly what it wants to do. It's here because it wants to use Persisting on the Mew, understands it will get knocked out in return, and it looks like a smart choice. We'll go ahead and retreat. We'll be dealing 170 damage with the Choice Belt, but again, I feel like you'd rather have the Choice Belt on the Mew for later on to put in more work, but kind of just how the way things have shaped out so far for Joseph, may have had to just attach the energy there for some protection against Big Charm, but this is going to be a big-time turn for Isaiah. Is there Boss's Orders in combination with a Grass Energy to knock out this Mew? If there is, this will be a big swing. I see Palpad in the hand. I don't know what other cards there are. Does have Boss's Orders, but I don't think there's any way to get cards like the Inteleons into play, or the Drizziles, rather.
Into that Palpad shuffling. I missed the second card, but that was Raihan.
And Single Strike Mustard,
into the deck, and the Mustard. And I think your earlier point about this Choice Belt being on the Meloetta is also big. You know, we talk a lot about, oh, well, you have all these cards you want to thin out with things like Chromatic. You know, you want to play a bunch of your cards, burn a bunch of your cards to enable Fusion Strike system. But sometimes doing that can kind of end with you in a weird spot. It's not just free. You know, you have that Choice Belt on this Meloetta now, which, you know, maybe you don't want it in the long game.
Oh, wow, had to play this research to discard both Boss's Orders after playing the Palpad. Wow.
I feel like Isaiah just had such a he's had such this struggle this game of kind of getting things set up. Still in a good position, but just hasn't found exactly kind of the right combination of cards he needed. Although now he does have this research, finds a bunch of cards, finds the Drizzile, and now we're kind of determining what to do with that. Shady Dealings.
Yeah, eyeing up the energy search, I'm sure that will be the grab. Also has double turbo energy in hand. It will be enough to knock out the Meloetta. I think just debating where the energies are. Things are looking good for Joseph on the back end. Has a way to respond with something like a Boss's Orders onto the Beedrill, take a knockout the following turn, but with a Single Strike Mustard shuffled back in, and with plenty of ways to still get the hand down to 0 cards, it is still possible to see another Beedrill come out the following turn. That's got to be what you're hoping for if you're Isaiah, if Joseph decides to take the route to knock out Beedrill. And I feel like any opportunity you have to take care of this Beedrill, while you may be trading favorably and taking 2 prizes this turn instead of 1, the result down the line is going to be in your favor for sure.
So we saw Isaiah going for that the energy search, and actually changed his mind, decided to go for the Big Charm, and then commit the second double turbo here. Kind of just saying, well, I can knock out the Meloetta anyway with my Arceus, and I kind of just like protect it, make it a little bit harder to knock out here. We see 3 Grass Energy get attached to that benched Arceus V.
So does have access to that. It looks like we'll have to commit the second double turbo energy. Taking a Grass Energy out the prizes is solid, means that this Beedrill will have the energy to attack the following turn, but there are a lot of other good prize cards there as well. The Ordinary Rod could be big to put the Beedrill back into play, so there are a lot of different options for these players. But Isaiah will be the first one to take a prize card, going down to 5 prizes. Action on Joseph, though, already has the Boss's Orders in hand, already has energy in play on the Mew. Can see that line be taken. I don't know. Do you agree with me, Kenny? Is going after Beedrill always correct here?
I don't know that it's always correct, but I think, it feels kind of natural in a way, right? I would have to have a lot more experience playing against the Beedrill deck, but feels like kind of this big threat here. I mean, right? A good way to think about this is you can think about what happens if you do take the knockout on the Arceus. This turn is that Beedrill just comes up and knocks out your Mew, right? We see both Mews have the double turbo committed, so we're not going to see a way to attack with just basic energy. So I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of take out the thing that can knock you out just kind of automatically and then clean up this Arceus later. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated. Prize counts can kind of mess with that. Any kind of possible Sharon's Care plays, anything like that, can kind of mess with that. It's very much not simple, but that would be my inclination.
Yeah, there's ups and downs, pros and cons to many decisions all across Pokemon. We've seen it time and time again. Sometimes the right decision in your head is not the right decision at the end of the day. Sometimes vice versa. Looks like we will see the Rotom phone. Place that card onto the top of the deck. Has Boss's Orders already in hand. Can just maybe use his first Fusion Strike system, understand, hey, I'm getting 2 cards regardless in comparison to 3. It still will work out. Looks like decided to put the Ultra Ball on top of the deck. Does have the ability to discard the Alessa Sparkle. I think it's just kind of give it up a Meloetta for the rest of the game. Understands all my Fusion Strike energies are gone. I'm going to be relying off these last 2 double turbo to put in a lot of work, which could definitely be scary if both these Pokemon find a way to, if one's forced to maybe psychically back in or the energy finds a way to get removed. There's no Crushing Hammer or Fan of Waves on Isaiah's side, but it always feels scary when you've only got 2 energy left in deck and you just need to have your last 2 attackers.
Yeah, and if you're Joseph, you got to be thinking about kind of mapping out the rest of the game. Are these Mews enough? Like, just with the Mews that are here, can I actually win this game? If so, what's that going to look like? What do I need to do? Looks like there's some kind of... I'm going to judge this discussion here. We will get more information about that. Unclear.
Sorry about that. I'm just...
What exactly is going on here? I think it's pretty minor.
It might be a Fusion Strike system issue. We've seen this a lot on and off stream as we've been walking around. Sometimes it can be a little bit wonky. I got to really turn my brain cogs here and try to figure out what I think things are on ends. I know I saw some body language from Isaiah that would warrant maybe it being on him. Hopefully we get some sort of confirmation, at least who the penalty is on, and then we can maybe figure out a little bit more, because the game is so broad, there's so many actions being taken place, it's kind of hard to narrow and pinpoint things down.
Yeah, I think I heard...
How long have you been playing for?
I think I heard Joseph say, like, oh, sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous or something. So I think that might have been a mistake on his turn. Would make a lot of sense too. Something with that Fusion Strike system, something with the Rotom form maybe. But we'll get, either way, we'll figure it out. What judge will, make their ruling. We'll hear about what the judge, says, and we will move on and, finish this game out.
So it looks like what word I have on my end is that Joseph, I believe, is the player in question that I'm getting, started searching the deck after completing a search. For those of you guys who are familiar with the game, you can always change your options off of a search. We've seen that time and time again. You'll see players look at their deck, fan a card, put it down, then look back at their deck again and change things out. As soon as you start the shuffling process, as soon as you start to shuffle your deck up, you can't re-look back at your deck. You've already selected your cards. Kind of like the overall gesture that, hey, I'm done doing what I'm doing. I've locked in. No going back from here.
Yeah, that's kind of the universal sign. It's kind of the universal sign that that's what's happening. Is okay. I'm done here. I'm going to move on from my search. You kind of need something to say to kind of indicate that, and that's what kind of the rules are. But if that's all the problem was, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. We'll have to figure it out again. The players will, or the judge will let us know what is going to happen here.
This is why we have an excellent judging team. I do want to give a shout out to all the judges who help out with these events. They're we only get to see them on stream a little bit, but there are many walking around the venue, walking around the event for all the different age divisions, and they allow play to be upheld, to be resolved, trying to figuring out what everything is happening. So it looks like we'll have the head judge coming in to help make a decision. Looks like there was an appeal over on Joe's side. So we do have confirmation the penalty was on Joseph, so figuring everything out.
So we talked a little bit on the stream about, part of the thing with all the regionals coming back, in real life play coming back, is to kind of educate players if you're going to make it out to regionals or any other Pokemon event, really. We talked a little bit yesterday about, calling a judge and how, it's something we've seen on stream multiple times. Even when we're on stream, there's even a judge sitting there at the table kind of watching the game. Calling a judge is never a bad thing. It's always just kind of a way to make sure the game is being played fairly, the rules are being upheld, clear up any questions you might have. And in addition to that, kind of the next level that you probably won't run into, you know, in your first tournament or anything, but eventually you might run into in your career, is if you disagree with a judge's ruling or you want to get more information about the ruling, you can do what Joseph is doing here, which is appeal to the head judge. So every event has a head judge. There's multiple head judges depending on the size of the event. That kind of is the final say, the final kind of arbiter of the rules. And their say is final, but and, you know, they're very educated, very well-respected judges, and they will explain it to you. Actually, we do see head judge Christopher Szymanski. They're a longtime player, huge community contributions, and now moving in to judging over the past few years, and you know, head judging of this tournament.
Yeah, excellent, Chris. Congratulations. This is great for him to be seeing him up on stage, making the ruling right now. So we are seeing Joseph appeal the decision, which again, encourage if you don't agree with something, you got to stand up for what you believe, and that's why the appeal system exists. I'm very happy that it does. I've had judge calls before that have been used, and I've appealed the system, and things have happened. I'm sure you've had your own stories on your end of judge calls. We've both been playing through different time periods, and the rules stay consistent, and I'm happy that we still do have this system. And it's important to look at that too, especially if you don't believe in what the ruling is. You gotta really give your sense. But these judges are consulting. They're using the resources available to make the best and most educated decision they can in a unique situation.
The other thing you may have noticed is that the timer is stopped, or I guess they're changing the timer now on the stream. It was stopped. That's because in any situation like this where a judge is making a long ruling like this, they will be granting the players a time extension, especially in a spot like this where it matters, where the time matters so much. So the players, you know, this time is not considered, you know, kind of counted against the game time. So again, we talked a lot about time. We talked a lot about managing your time in these tournaments. And so just another little tidbit of information here. But it looks like we're back. I don't know if any penalties were assessed, but the game has continued on. It looks like players are just finalizing everything, just shuffling his deck, and we are back.
So we are getting ready to get back into things. Hopefully we'll have confirmation on what the exact ruling was, if there is some sort of a prize penalty or a warning, but kicking things off with what looks like to be the second Fusion Strike system. Filling the hand back up, does find a choice belt. I believe that is the math necessary to get the knockout. Actually, no. Excuse me. Plenty of things. So it looks like the call was de-escalated, so there's a great example of why to appeal a call. It looks like a warning was issued. So things are continuing. We're going to have a small time extension. The clock is now updated to reflect the exact time in the match. As we're getting confirmation about Fusion Strike systems, we use the choice belt come down onto the Mew. Lots of power tablets in hand, so Joe's got cards to work with for sure.
Yeah, heading back into this game, we do see that choice belt attached to the Ultra Ball, getting rid of, I think that's the last Genesect.
There's like 7 cards in the deck there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a very, very small deck. Not too many turns left. Certainly not too many Fusion Strike systems left for Joseph.
I was like, is that his hand or his deck there? It's like 7 or 8 cards, and we see how many resources have already been burnt. So it looks like we are going to see Technoblast take the knockout. Joseph will go down to 4 prize cards. Looks like drawing into that switch and the Psychic Energy. Psychic Energy not too relevant, but we'll have access to the switch. And there is the Grass Energy on the B-Drill. Joseph deciding to not boss's orders and bring it up. And this B-Drill will be taking a big 3-prize turn here for Isaiah, putting him 1 step closer to advancing to top 4. And this is where persisting is so strong. You're trading 3 prizes for a single prize Pokemon in just 1 attack.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of work to kind of get the B-Drill into play. You know, as you can see, it is in play off of that Mustard. It is a Stage 2 Pokemon, but it's just right in play as if it were a basic. But it has a huge reward as well. 3 prizes are coming in. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about damage. We're not talking about damage modifiers. You know, anything like a Big Charm decreasing damage. It doesn't matter. It's just, do you have a special energy attached? Yes, then you are knocked out.
Absolutely persisting, one of the best attacks in the current standard format, and it's no surprise that Isaiah and the rest of the boys in this group decided to rock with this deck for the weekend, as we are going to see the Shady Dealings as well start to come into play. Opting to grab the Evolution Incense to get this Arceus into play, understands how important it is to have both options. You've got to deal with one of these threats. B-Drill, if you keep it here, it's just going to take another knockout the following turn and win the game. You're going to need to attack with this other Mew VMAX. Otherwise, you got to let this Arceus stay into play and not knock it out. And Amarni as well is going to put the power tablets in Joseph's hand on the bottom of the deck. Going to draw Isaiah some more cards, continuing to get these Inteleon pieces out. Excellent spot for Isaiah. He's going to take 3 prizes and just potentially 1 knockout away from securing a spot in top 4.
Yeah, and I think one of the kind of themes of this format has kind of been when to play your Marnies, right? We sometimes will see in other decks, we'll see the classic, like, I'll play Path to the Peak and a Marnie on the same turn to kind of limit your hand and then limit your options for the next turn. And this is sort of a similar thing where Isaiah's kind of saying, okay, this is more or less a free turn for me. The Beedrill's already in play. All I need to do is attach this little basic grass and knock you out. And while I'm going to get some advantage in the prizes, I'm also going to take an advantage, you know, with hand and with cards. It's a little bit different now because, of course, Fusion Strike system can kind of really just reset, kind of undo that Marnie work. And we will see I don't think, has Joseph hit a heads on one of these this entire match?
I don't, maybe one at the start. I think there was one heads during game number 1, and that was it. But we are going to see the Rotom phone.
For almost the whole deck, I think we're going to see.
Yeah. Has access to a few cards. It looks like a lot of power tablet. Looks like prioritizing grabbing the power tablet. I don't even know. Looking at the prizes, a Mew VMAX is prized. I believe there might actually not be another Mew VMAX in the deck because one was knocked out. One, I think, was discarded aggressively at one point as a 1-1 line.
Yeah, the 1-1 line
so
was
the more I'm
discarded.
thinking about it, I don't think there's a way for this Mew to attack besides Psychic Leap. But from there, you have no other attackers. You can hope to try to take this prize, but you're only dealing 50 damage because of the reduced, 80 because of the power tablet. You're going to need 3 power tablets to knock out this Beedrill. And at that point, what resources do you have left to close out this game?
So fortunately for Joseph, he actually does have the second and third power tablets.
Oh, wow.
You'll see them into play, but I think we're gonna. Yeah, I think you're right, Ethan. I think we're gonna see him end up in kind of a similar.
It's a psychic.
Oh, it's gonna cost a psychic energy there.
Ooh, yeah, and this gets really interesting as well. Technically, it cannot enter the attacking phase because it does not have the required energy to perform an attack, so I don't believe there is any call on that. I've had actually this instance happen to me before where because you cannot technically attack, it would be like me trying to announce Genesect's attack with no energy on it because I can't attack with Genesect. So I forget how this exact ruling works, but we are still going to just see the Psychic Leap. It's going to be able to take a knockout onto the Beedrill. The Arceus will come up, and as long as Isaiah has a Boss's Orders in hand in combination with something like a Choice Belt, a Zigzagoon, or a Quick Shooting Inteleon, then these are going to be all the cards necessary in order to close this game out. There we go. Unfortunately, does not draw the Mew VMAX at the prizes. Things are starting here for Isaiah. There's an Ultra Ball at the top. I believe if there is a Shady Dealings Inteleon in the deck, that could be all the cards. There's the Choice Belt. Actually, no, I forgot. Discarded both Boss's Orders early on in this game, actually. Yep. So it doesn't have access. It feels so strange for Inteleon to not have access to the pieces it needs this early on in the game, so to say.
Yeah, I do think the Boss's Orders are all unavailable to Isaiah at this point. Yeah, I think he would be playing this turn a lot differently, a lot more quickly. If he were, but still, he's still in a great position, takes a knockout down to 1 price here, and again, Joseph's left with no attackers. I mean, he can, he can quick ball here for the Mew that went back in the deck, but I don't really know what other, real options he has to kind of stay in this game and kind of further develop things here.
Looks like has 3 or so cards left in deck. One of those is a double Turbo Energy. No other access, no energies. Looks like going to go ahead and concede the game. Isaiah Bradner will go ahead and win top 8, advancing to top 4. Congratulations, finally breaking through, heartbreaking loss. I saw that 3-game set against Pedro Eugenio Torres at EUIC. So close to being able to pull that game out. It's got to feel great to finally break through to another top 4 finish. Congrats to Isaiah. And still, great play from Joseph. Unfortunate to see some of those unlucky discards at that point. It's kind of what happens with Mew. I'm sure we'll be saying, what can I do better going forward to this event? What adjustments do I think on my side of play or on the side of the list do I really feel I could do? I can show that I pilot this deck to a high finish. Is there more that I can do? So both these players, great takeaways. But Isaiah, going to be moving on top 4. All I got to say is, did I make the right prediction? Am I on track?
One step closer, one step closer. Congratulations to Joseph Perez for making the top 8. And of course, congratulations to Isaiah Bradner for advancing to